If you're thinking about buying the M2 iPad Pro in 2025, I have to say you're in a good place. The M2 iPad Pro, while it does look a little bit thicker compared to the newer M4 iPad Pro, still gets the job done and still manages to seem like a top choice. And I'm going to help you make an informed decision if you should buy the M2 iPad Pro in 2025. It is better than you might think. I'm going to first talk about performance and how it's kind of been holding up, and then design and how it kind of compares to other iPads, and then finally where you can buy the M2 iPad Pro. This right here is my own personal iPad that I've used almost every single day for the past 2 years, and my overall experience with it has been phenomenal. I use it a lot for schoolwork, and the M2 chip hasn't caused any slowdowns with this device, even with recent updates. To give you an example, the other day as I was scripting this video, I did some app launch speed tests. Hello, future me. And performance-wise, apps loaded less than a second pretty much all the time, and I didn't notice any lag. I did notice, however, performance on some things can really depend on your Wi-Fi. The M2 iPad Pro has Wi-Fi 6E, but performance with network-intensive apps can really depend on the network traffic and other factors. But all devices are that way though. One thing I'm neither impressed by or unimpressed by though is the M2 iPad Pro's battery life. I would say it's decent at best, and it does a good job battery drainage wise while in standby mode, but as soon as you launch a game, you're maybe able to get 3 to 4 hours with it, or about 8 hours with regular apps. I didn't mind this at all though, because I still only had to charge my iPad 1 to 2 times a week while I was in school. For those who are curious, my iPad's battery health is at 93% according to Coconut Battery, and a battery replacement is $149 from Apple. For how I kind of use my iPad right now, I'm on summer break, so I mainly use my iPad to play Fortnite of all things, and it's kind of been my 1 hour of relaxation every night. But before that, I was using it for schoolwork, and what I like about it for schoolwork is its convenience. I just take it on my backpack, and everything from my notebook to my D2L page to my pencil is all in one device. And there's this one company out there, Moken, that I feel like has taken the all-in-one device concept to another product, Charger Bricks, and is the sponsor of this video. I do feel like this charger has solved a pretty big personal problem I've had with a lot of other chargers out there, and that's dealing with cables as you're taking your charger out of your backpack to charge the iPad that you forgot to charge overnight to class. And it should be able to charge pretty quickly now, as I'm going from a 35 watt charger to a 65 watt charger, while staying at a pretty similar size. And as I was finding more clever ways to use this charger, I realized as someone who likes to keep a clean space, how annoying it is to see an unused cable just dangling around or lying on the floor that can now be tucked away or adjusted up to 2.3 feet in length to prevent dragging cords. Since I'm not in school right now, this is what I've been mostly using it for by my nightstand, as it also has another USB-C port to charge my Apple Watch. I think they put a lot of thought into this design compared to a standard charge brick. You can check out the Moken 65 watt retractable wall charger using the link down below. With the iPad Pro, Apple did something interesting with their lineup. Instead of releasing an M3 iPad Pro, they skipped it, instead releasing an M4 iPad Pro with an updated design. Something 18-year-old Terry got pretty upset about after spending $800 on this thing. Like the video if you feel bad for me. But in all seriousness though, they did raise the base price to $1,000, and as of now, it's still the latest iPad Pro, but I do expect that to change within the next year or so. Apple did bring a few major changes with the M4 iPad Pro, like having the camera in landscape orientation, support for a new Apple Pencil Pro, as well as some other upgrades that I have listed right here. But probably the biggest change you're missing out on with the M2 iPad Pro compared to the M4 iPad Pro is the OLED display, which gives you better color contrast, especially in darker environments. Although the M2 12.9-inch iPad Pro does have mini LED, which is kinda similar to an OLED. Now, the M2 iPad Pro's display is still really good compared to a regular iPad or an iPad Air. It is more than enough for what most people need it for. Ever since 2017, all of Apple's iPad Pros have a 120Hz display, which has stayed exclusive to the iPad Pro lineup ever since. I do think 120Hz is a game changer if you're someone who likes to draw and do detailed sketches, or a gamer who likes a smoother refresh rate for playing games like Asphalt 9, Fortnite, etc. Now, if you're someone who is using this for other things besides that, like schoolwork, you're better off saving your money just by getting a regular iPad or an iPad Air. P.S. If you're a student, check out Apple's education store. You can get some pretty good discounts. Now, I want to dive a little bit into the general design of the iPad Pro itself. Personally, I chose mine in the silver color option because I did think it did a better job of hiding scratches a bit better. My overall goal with this iPad was to try to keep it in like new condition, which I ultimately failed at as pressure from my backpack kind of caused a blue permanent pressure spot on the LCD. You'll buy this iPad thinking that you can keep it in like new condition, but ultimately it is a big, thin, fragile piece of glass that is prone to bending and getting pressure spots on the display. I do think the rest of the iPad has held up well though. I put a matte knockoff paper-like screen protector on it that's kind of helped with glare and making writing feel a bit more natural, and overall makes this iPad look like a slick, modern sheet of glass. I could spend a lot of time talking about the ins and outs of the M2 iPad Pro, but ultimately I'm going to leave that information to Apple's website in the link down below. If you're curious about repairs, Apple does act kind of sneakily in this sense. A battery replacement is $149, but as for other repairs like screens, they just quote it as $549 for other damage, almost as much as what the M2 iPad Pro is worth. I would guess from a third party, screen replacements are going to be around $220 and anywhere between $120 to $300 for other repairs. So definitely treat this thing like a baby and go into it with the expectation that repairs might be almost as much as what this device is worth. And speaking of worth and buying things, where would I recommend buying this iPad? Well, if Apple's refurbished store had the base M2 iPad Pro models on it, I would have gone with that first. But since they don't, there's two other places I would check. The first route would be Amazon Renewed, and with Amazon Renewed, you have two options. The first one being Amazon Renewed, which I'd recommend if you're fine with 80% plus battery health in decent condition. And then you have Amazon Renewed Premium, which is like new condition with 90% plus battery health. With the Amazon route, you are spending a bit more, especially when you add sales tax, but you do get a 90-day satisfaction guarantee, and you're saving a lot of time and risk by not having to go out and meet with some seller. If you want to support the channel, I will leave affiliate links to Amazon down below. And then finally, we have buying locally. This is a bit more risky, but with it, you are typically getting a better deal. Oftentimes, prices are cheaper and you can see the device before you buy it, but you also are spending a lot of time from finding a good deal, messaging the seller, and then spending time to go and get the device. And of course too, you are prone to a lot more risk in getting scammed. Which is why I check out my used iPad testing guide, so that way you know everything you need to check before buying a used iPad. Thank you all so much for watching, and goodbye.